Hey, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? All right. Hey, let's get Chuck a round of applause. You guys know how to get everybody on himself, but it's guys like him that really help guys like me and my brothers and all you guys out here. He's the one that's given us opportunities to further our careers in wrestling and to come back and give back. So I just want to thank Chuck for that. And I got three quick short stories I want to give you guys. Just to give you, just share my testimony with my walk with Christ and how wrestling has impacted that. And for the longest time, you know, I think as a competitor, you wonder if wrestling and faith can mix. And it absolutely can, and it's so intertwined, it's mutually inclusive actually. And I just want to give 3 stories of growing up that's hopefully you guys can understand and relate to show you how it's impacted me as a Christian. And the first story I'll share with is, when I was a kid, growing up, 7, 8 years old, traveling to tournaments. And a lot of those tournaments you travel to, you got to go to Chattanooga or Georgia, Alabama, or wherever it is, and it's on the weekend. And you go and you wrestle. And when my dad and my uncle and E.T. Bobby Davenport didn't take us to these tournaments, win or lose, no matter how long the tournament or how tired we were, we always found a church to go to on Sunday, regardless. I mean, you don't really feel like going to church after you wrestle all day and stay in the gym, you just want to get home. But we would find a church, we'd go to church, and then we'd come home. And that taught me a very valuable lesson when I was a kid, that it was more, God was more important than wrestling. Yes, we wanted to go wrestle. Yes, we wanted to go train. But we were never going to sacrifice our time at church to be with God. And that was a very important lesson young. And I wanted to share that with you guys. No matter how many medals you guys get or how good you are at wrestling, what you do, you got to always put God first. And when you go to those tournaments and things like that, that doesn't mean nothing if you're not taking the time to try to pray and get to know God on a personal level. The second story I want to share with you guys, it's kind of a hard story for me because I'm embarrassed a little bit to tell it, but it has impacted me in a big way. When I was growing up, I was good at wrestling, and I just was very blessed to have Patrick always wrestling me in our house and being able to go on all these tournaments. I got good. I got really good. I hadn't lost in high school for a few years. I just hadn't lost, and I was doing really well. And I was coming up on my senior year, and we took a trip to Ohio to go to a wrestling tournament up there. Now, being from Tennessee, you always hear how good Ohio wrestlers are, Pennsylvania wrestlers are, California wrestlers. They're the best. They're really good. So we went up to Ohio, and I was thinking, all right, let's see how good they really are. And I went out there, and I remember I destroyed every one of those guys. It wasn't even close. And I was it was my senior year. I was getting recruited to go wrestle a lot of places. Things were going great. Like I said, I hadn't lost in probably 3 years. And I remember I started thinking I was good. And I started acting like I was good. And I kind of got a little bit of arrogance. I remember we came back from that trip. And I was riding with my dad and my brother, my 2 brothers, and we were going home. And my dad didn't really talk about the trip. And we were coming back, and my dad, we didn't have the radio on, so I knew something was wrong. He started talking to me, and he said, "Phil, if you ever wrestle like that again, I'm kicking you off the team." Now, here I am, I'm his son, I'm a senior in high school, I'm the best wrestler on the team. And I remember thinking, my first thought was, nah, he's not going to do that to me. I'm the captain of the team, he needs me, he's bluffing. Well, that was probably the wrong thought. My dad really never bluffs. And I remember thinking, it's like, oh, he's not really being serious. And then he didn't say a word, he was still quiet. I looked over at him, and he was just looking at his driving. He was very serious. And I remember thinking, he is serious. He's going to kick me off this team if I wrestle like that. Now, let me explain to you how I wrestle. Now, you can wrestle hard, and you can win. And you can win, but there's a way to win. And that's what I learned that night. I wasn't winning with class and dignity and respect. I was going out there taking it out on these Ohio wrestlers because everyone had told me they were good. And when I found Tennessee wrestlers I was wrestling, I started trying to embarrass them. I tried to score as many points, push their face to the mat, and it became a show. It was about me. It became about, look at me. You guys are from Ohio and you think you're good. Well, look at me. I'm from Tennessee. And I remember I had that attitude. It's not a good attitude. It wasn't very good. And I remember it didn't hit me until my dad said, I will keep you off the team if you ever wrestle like that again. And then it hit me that it wasn't about winning. It wasn't about being the best wrestler in the state or in the nation or the country. My dad cared more about how I wrestled and how I won than just winning. And that was a big turning point for me in my life, because then I started realizing that I had a responsibility when I wrestled to glorify the Lord and what I stood for and what my parents taught me and raised me and what people like Chuck had taught me growing up, that it was more than just winning, it was how you win. And that stuck with me, and I really believe that. When I see kids go out there and they wrestle hard and they wrestle tough, they don't ever take it easy on their opponent, but after the match they help the guy up and say, good job, good match. And they win with class and ability. That's a real champion. And that means so much more, and you have so much more of an impact when you wrestle like that, and then you go out there and you try to put on a show, and you say it's all about me. Because it's not about you guys. And that's something that hopefully you'll learn as you get older, that it's not about you, it's more than you. And that's what this whole FCA wrestling is about. It's not about us, it's not about me. It's about coming together as a community, helping each other out, mentoring each other, and sharing some of the things that we've learned in our life that's made being a Christian just the most enjoyable thing about who I am as a person. The last story I want to share with you guys. Last year we had the 2012 Olympic trials to see who goes on to wrestle in London. And I've trained for many years, 20-something odd years, since you guys, these little guys out here. I've been in your shoes and I've trained my whole life. And there was a lot of pressure leading up to that tournament. You know, you start thinking, I spent my whole life getting ready to do this. It's a lot of pressure and stress. And I remember I watched this movie, Chariots of Fire, and it really helped put things in perspective for me. Because sometimes when you work so hard, whether you're in middle school or high school or college, or you're wrestling, or I'm wrestling right now at the Olympic Training Center, you put so much effort and you feel like, I deserve this, I earned this, and you start thinking about worldly things and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And I watched Chariots of Fire, and there was a great quote I want to share with you guys that really stuck with me. I believe God made me for a purpose, but He also made me fast. And when I run, I feel His pleasure. That was Eric Liddell. He was a runner, and he was talking about he had a lot of pressure. People were wondering when they watched him run, he looked like he ran and he had so much fun, so effortlessly. And I remember thinking, well, I had so much stress and pressure on me to do all the Olympic trials for a while. I started thinking, man, I'm not really having that much fun. So I saw that quote and I changed it around a little bit. So where it said, for me, I said, I believe God made me for a purpose, but He also made me a wrestler. And when I wrestle, I feel His pleasure. And what that meant to me is it was not really a matter about winning or losing. It didn't matter if I won the trials. And it didn't matter if I lost the trials. What really mattered was how I wrestled those 6 minutes sitting out in front of those thousands and thousands of people that are watching me. You know, when I wrestle, am I laying it on the line? Am I giving it back to God and thanking Him for allowing me to wrestle? And when you do that, and you wrestle like that, and you have a purpose, wrestling becomes fun. And it became fun again. And even though I didn't win the Olympic trials, one of those matches I had was probably going to be one of my favorites, because I wrestled so hard and I felt God's glory when I wrestled when I was out there. And all my family and friends that were cheering me, it just added to it. So I challenge you guys 3 things when you leave and you go back to your schools. 1, make sure your priorities straight. Nothing matters if you don't have God first in your relationship with Christ. And the second thing I would say is always remember that it's more than just winning. It's how you wrestle. It's how you represent yourself and what your coaches and family have tried to instill in you. And then the last thing is have fun doing it. Give it back to God. He's given me the talents and the ability to come here and wrestle. wrestle hard, wrestle for Him, and feel His pleasure and enjoy wrestling. Thanks so much, guys. I look forward to going over some technique and putting you guys through practice with my brother. And again, I'm really excited about what Nashville has and with FCA Wrestling and the impact it's going to have on kids who are all out in Nashville and all across the state. So thanks so much. I look forward to working with you guys.